Hey guys, I'm Jackie Podner, and my research topic was the socioeconomic status and how it affects K through 12 students. So first of all, what is the socioeconomic status? First of all, it is commonly referred to as SES, and that is how I will refer to it a lot in this presentation, so just a fair warning. Second of all, by definition, socioeconomic status is defined as a measurement of the combination of someone's wealth or lack thereof and their social standing. And as you can probably imagine already, this has a lot of influence on a student, especially when they're in middle school and high school. Why? Because that's when we really start to get an introduction to technology. First off, think about how many papers you had to write after school for high school, such as your AP Lit papers or even your just regular social studies papers. If you didn't have a laptop or even a family computer, think about how out of your way you would have to go to find one. A lot of students would have to go to their community libraries or anything else like a workplace or another family members. But honestly, if the community they're from is also a low SES standing, you can imagine how awful this experience would be, because these other places might not even have an updated technology as that. Additionally, think about textbooks. How old were your textbooks in high school? I know some of mine were as old as 15 to 20 years old, but then some of them were like 5 years off the shelf. I was privileged enough to go to a school that was middle to high SES, but a lot of schools lower than that do not have these fundings to go get new textbooks. So that means that their textbooks have a lot of graffiti in them and they're outdated to what the curriculum is provided by states. Additionally, think about a band room. Personally, I'm going into K through 12 music education, so I have to keep a lot of this in my head when I am a teacher. A lot of band programs in low SES schools are either underfunded or non-existent because schools cannot afford these programs, because instruments are very expensive to take care of. Families, if I work in a low SES community, I have to acknowledge that some students will not be able to pay for damages, for reeds, for anything that might happen with an instrument. I read an article about this actually, and they even commented on how these trends are often common and how low SES schools don't have high band percentages because of the fact that there is such a lack of funding and the families just can't afford something like this. Also, competitions and athletics are very expensive, so when it comes to school funding in low SES communities, they're not able to have these things, which could be discouraging to some students as they want to be in a high-class football program, but their school just can't afford it. This might discourage them from doing well in their academics. Some other factors can include a lot in data. So there was a research study that I found that was done here in Michigan in public schools, and they found out their data from how eligible a student was for the lunch program, also known as the National School Lunch Program, which is commonly referred to as NSLP. So to get NSLP, students either have to turn in documentation or they might already have documentation put in with the government because their family relies on welfare, or they might have other foster children. And in this study, they found that students who were in this program scored a whole standard deviation, so 0.69, below their peers when it came to standardized testing. Additionally, the study showed how this can affect students if they were in the social standing for longer and for how young they were put into this social standing. The percentage of students who were continuously eligible for this program is 14%, and they scored 0.94 standard deviations below their peers when it came to their standardized test scores. This just proves how students who come from a lower SES home have problems and they don't do as well in schools. Some articles that I read discussed why these things might be a problem. For one article, they talked about school belonging. And school belonging is as it sounds, which is just how a student might fit into school and how they feel at school. Do they feel comfortable, or do they feel like they're being pushed to the outside by their peers, teachers, or administrators? So in this article, the data show that students score higher when they feel more included and they feel like they belong at school. Again, this might, the school belonging might be caused by students, so their peers, friends. This might also come from teachers and from the community itself. And does the community put emphasis on academics? Additionally, parent involvement is mentioned a lot in these articles, but there's not a lot to test how much a parent is involved with their student. Surveys can be given out, but surveys are very unreliable, so you can't 100% rely on the survey, because a parent might say that they're working a lot with their student, but again, that might mean something different to what the people who are researching mean. Additionally, why am I talking all about this? I'm talking about this because people from low SES households find it harder to feel a sense of school belonging, which in turn is why they might have lower scores than the rest. So one big thing talked about in these articles is a teacher role. How do teachers impact and influence their students? Well, in one article that I found by Okawa, a direct quote is, "Teachers help contribute by communication, acknowledgement of challenges and interests, and recognition of effort." Students like when their teachers acknowledge them, and they like when they feel like they're being pushed at a comfortable limit. This is found in another article that I found by Tedley and Stringfield. They did a test where they also sent out a survey to teachers and students, and they asked the teachers what they felt about the students and what the students felt about the teachers and everything involved. And then they put them in categories such as middle SES, effective, meaning that the school had better test scores, had a good influence and stuff like that. In this one, a direct quote is, students perceive their teachers as less praising, less caring, less helpful, and more critical. This was a direct correlation to the school that had low SES and was least effective, meaning that their scores were nowhere near anyone else's. Additionally, these are compared to students who were from low SES but still considered effective, and from those studies it showed that the students found the teachers pushed them but at comfortable limits. It was just the fact that they didn't have enough resources, they felt like, to accommodate for pushing them forward in academics, such as textbooks. Additionally, in this category of low SES and low effective is 21% of the teachers would rather teach in another school than any other group found on this list. Teachers found in the low SES but still effective found that teachers were usually younger, who were just out of college, who couldn't afford to say no. Again, this is a lot about the teacher, and as we're all going into teaching, I feel like it is very important for us to realize how we affect our students. How can we help people from the low SES, besides the resources that they might have? Anyway, that's all I have for you. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps open your eyes to low SES and how it can affect students K through 12. Thank you.